Well, hello there, and welcome to my no cards build log for Stronghold Kingdoms. Today I will be covering days 129 to 135 in my week in review format. So yeah, the big news is House 11 declared war on former House 12. So that makes two big wars that I've had to cover within the last week. Pretty big, but of course I don't play GC1, so that war doesn't affect me a whole lot. But this war does, and as you can see, former House 12 has now flipped to House 1 for reasons that I am unsure of, as House 1 doesn't have any known alliances with other houses. But the small amount of territory that House 1 happens to control, and House 1 is who we are now at war with. House 1 was former House 12. I happen to be smack dab in the middle of the counties they control. Now, originally, House 1, or House 12 as they were known before, controlled more territory. Indeed, they controlled Hudson, or Catskill. I'm not sure why it's called that. Hudson Catskills, okay. Well, we're going to be calling it Hudson. They controlled this before that faction split off from House 12 and, of course, joined House 10. Now, the reasons for this might be speculated upon, of course, but my personal suspicion, and I'm probably biased because I'm part of the alliance fighting them, is that they are attempting to drag House 10 into the fray. Now, House 10 has been adamant in its position that unless it is attacked, it will remain neutral to conflicts happening around it. So, of course, with one of the factions from former House 12 jumping out of House 12 and moving over to House 10, brings it into question what they're up to. From my point of view, given the fact that that faction, which is now in House 10 but was in former House 12, continues to attack us and us them, could lead out to a fallout in relations between House 11, my house, and House 10. And that would be a shame, because we can take on House 1, former House 12, but taking on House 10 is another matter entirely. And I'm very sure that we would get steamrolled if that became the situation. So yeah, basically what you had was House 12 playing dirty again. You know, it's the same bunch of players and they're still playing dirty. And when I say the same group of players, I'm talking about bows before hoes, which includes JJ Cashflow, Coda Bear, and my good old buddy Jeeth, who likes scouting and attacking me, because reasons. It's an interesting faction, and they don't seem to have a whole lot of loyalty to anybody but themselves, which is pretty much why they would jump ship the minute that they were declared on, and yet continue to fight from a different house. It kind of bugs me that they would do that. I mean, can't you have an honest fight? They have good players in there. House 11 has good players. It wasn't all that unbalanced of a fight. I mean, if you look at what House 11 controls, it wasn't very much more than what House 12 used to control, considering that House 12 used to control Hudson up there as well, and also West Tennessee, I believe it was. So House 12 controlled a fair amount of territory, and they have good players in there. Unfortunately, the players that they have in House 12 are a little bit preoccupied, I guess you could say, with... Get rid of that. Are a bit preoccupied, I guess you could say, with GC1. And given that, that could be the alternative as to why they jumped to House 10. They're simply not interested in fighting. If that was the case, you would think that they would get into contact with House 11 and attempt to mend the diplomacy between those two houses. So far I haven't seen that happen. But I'm not an officer, so I ask around, and I can only give you the information that I'm given. So where does that leave us? Well, unfortunately, I haven't hit Prince because of this war. Yeah, I have had to redirect where my honor went, I guess you could say, when it comes to sending out attacks. So here I am. I'm Duke First Rank, just 600,000 or so shy of being a Prince, 25th rank. So yeah, that's a little bit under the goal I was shooting for, but I mentioned in the last episode that that could very well happen, especially if war broke out. So let's cover the research that I completed in the past week. Starting with the Industry tab, I put in an additional 2 points into Siege Mechanics, fully maxing out my catapult production, which I know I should have done quite some time ago. But there is really no time like the present, so better late than never, I guess. I'll excuse it by saying that. Finally, moving over to the education tab of the research tree, I mentioned and completed Ordination. Now, Ordination allows you to have additional monks in your village. Before this week started, I had 2 points into Ordination to allow me to have 2 monks. I have since maxed it out for a total of 8 monks per village if I so desire. This is important when it comes to monking parishes in mass. Let's say if I want to flip a parish, I'm going to need to send as many monks as I can, really. And if you're only sending 2 monks at a time, that's going to be very slow. And if you have to play a politics card, for example, that's a real waste of it, because politics cards, they only last for a certain amount of time, and if you can't fully optimize that time spent with all 8 monks per village, you're wasting card points. In addition to Ordination, I also put an additional point into Eucharist. Now, I believe I neglected to mention this technology last week, but this is a vital technology, and it is debatable whether I should have researched Eucharist or Ordination first. As it so happens, I sort of overlooked Eucharist, as I have a couple other researches, but it's no big deal. But I overlooked Eucharist. I'm focusing on it now. Eucharist is important because, especially as a team effort, it will allow you to interdict players up to a given rank. Currently, I can interdict players up to level 15, but if I have other players in my faction, I might need to interdict them, and most of them now will be above rank 15. So you want to keep Eucharist in check all the time to make sure that it is, on average, like 1 or 2 ranks above the average rank of the players in your faction, so that way you can really assist them. Of course, in an ideal world, you would just max it all together, but that's not always practical given the fact that you have to, as intelligently as possible, allocate the research points that you're given. So I believe I'll be focusing largely on Eucharist, and will likely max it out this week. I might decide to move over to Industry, but it's unlikely. I would like to see the Eucharist research maxed, because at this point in the game there's justification for it. And in case players were wondering, and this is a very important point to make, you can interdict yourself even with 1 point of research into Eucharist. The interdict's target rank level, that only applies to other players than yourself. As far as you go, 1 point into Eucharist is all you need to self-ID. And that is very important. I know very early on in the game, I would say by day 30, it's ideal to have at least 1 point into Eucharist already in case you need to ID, because it seems day 30 is a popular launch point for many wars and new servers. So yeah, that pretty much covers research. Jumping over here to quests, I only completed 2 quests in the past 7 days, that being Rat Hunt 4 and A Blessing 6. Currently, of course, I'm working on Peacemaker 4, because why not? I will be IDing my villages every time I go off at night, and even some other times, so it's a goal that I can work towards while protecting myself at the same time. So if you can achieve an additional objective while doing something that you're going to be doing anyway, I see no reason not to do it. So yeah, this is a pretty big objective. Peacemaker 4, it requires you to send 500 hours of interdiction. By no means the most. The 8th one, I believe, is pretty crazy, but Peacemaker 4, 500 hours, that's a fair amount of faith points, and currently I have 344 hours into it. So I will be completing that by next week. Not wanting to jinx myself or anything, but so far I haven't lost any villages. All of them are defended, of course, but anytime another player dedicates to the process of eliminating your villages, unless you ID them, you're going to be removed, regardless of how good a defender you are. Fortunately, I haven't had anybody target me yet. Well, I think that pretty much sums up everything that happened in the past week in USA 3. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to Prince like I was hoping, but I definitely will be by this time next week, and then we'll just do it will be a finishing up video. So that would be kind of cool. I'll get to dedicate the entire video to really overviewing the achievements that I had, and really what I would look at going forward, to give you some insight as to where you can take your game after reaching Prince rank. So yeah, that pretty much covers everything. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I do hope to see you next time.